And a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owen. My co-host is Cade Slaughter. Welcome, Cade.
Thank you, Jeff.
And today's one of those shows that we get to do every once in a while that just kind of stands out because it's not about politics. It's not about WEIU budgets or anything like that. We get to talk baseball. Welcome, Hayden Birdsong from Mattoon, Illinois, and a San Francisco Giant Major League Baseball player.
Hi, how's it going?
Good seeing you. Oh, we appreciate you coming in on this busy day for you, right?
Yep. Totally busy.
Also, EIU baseball head coach Mr. Jason Anderson is here. Welcome, Jace.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I guess the question on everybody's mind, Hayden, you've probably been asked this a million times, but, what's it feel like to be, a Major League Baseball pitcher, a player,
It feels like a dream, obviously, but at the same time, you're still playing baseball.
Come on, move that up a little closer to you.
Closer. Just playing baseball. That's all it is. Just a lot more baseball in a smaller amount of time. You just keep playing. That's all I think of it. So,
Jason, when you heard he got called up this year, you got to be like a proud dad. I mean, when you think about it, you had 3 guys in the majors this year.
Yeah, just it's just hard to put into words. Just the excitement you feel for them and the families because you know what they go through. But I know the work that they put in. I know what they've been through the recruiting processes and day in and day out. And so, to see them get to that level is it's a truly amazing feeling.
Okay.
So let me ask you, what was it like to make your major league debut? Like, was it a little overwhelming, or did it feel like right, I guess? Or
it wasn't. I thought I was going to be more have a little bit more anxiety when I showed up, but as soon as I got to the field, it was like, okay, everybody kind of welcomed me in like with open arms, and it was just let's go have fun. There was no it wasn't super direct on what I need to be doing, blah blah blah. It was just straight up go pitch your game, and then we'll talk about it after. And that's it, and that helped me out a lot.
What about when you walked into the clubhouse that first time? I mean, when it's a Major League Baseball clubhouse, was it, were you, I don't know, nervous, or were you anxious? Were you looking around, or can you take us through that?
I was excited. I'd been in there before, not for that reason, but I showed up in the middle of a game, so there was nobody in there. So it was a little different. So I showed up, and it was 7:30, and I showed up, and nobody was in the locker room, and I just hung out and sat in a chair that I kind of had a locker. It wasn't really my locker. It was just we'll get you a locker set up by the morning. But, yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Talk about your earliest memories of playing baseball in Mattoon growing up as a little guy.
Probably, well, we were talking about earlier, the Mattoon Futures or Police, whatever that was, is kind of the start of Mattoon Hitmen. And then remember playing with everybody I grew up playing with from then till through high school probably. And I just remember going to tournaments, and my dad was either coaching or there, one or the other. You were always there. I just remember you yelling and screaming, But that's kind of helped the situation with us not having we kind of needed that. We needed that the yelling dad, You were hit.
I don't mind. Somebody has to have a little passion, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, people don't recall, is that first year we were terrible.
Yeah.
The first summer when we started Hitmen, we won one game. We won one game. And then we took a combined team up later, which we were talking about. We kind of called them the Mattoon Future, and up to Jacksonville and played on the turf. And we really thought, man, maybe these kids can play after all. And it kind of went from there. So it's cool. But when you think about it, you've played at Lakeland, you played at Eastern, you played for Mattoon Hitmen, Mattoon Legion, Mattoon High School, Mattoon Babe Ruth All-Stars from 10 years to 14 years old. So you kind of hit all the teams. So there's so many great memories. Does anything kind of stand out as you look back on some of those young teams that you started with?
Stand out? It was the same. To me, it was the same team we always play. It was the exact same group every year from then till high school. Obviously, some guys moved away or came in, but it was kind of same group, and it was really fun baseball.
It's a good group because you guys have stayed together as friends and hang out still to this day. Not that you're an elder statesman by any means, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Say, what has been the biggest surprise for you since joining the MLB? I kind of noticed back when I was in college, I noticed there's a little bit of kind of grapevine issues, at least on my team, with competitiveness. Does everybody stay by themselves and kind of work on their own game, or do people really affect each other as much? Or
It's pretty personalized. Most guys kind of do their own thing. You have the veterans that they know what they're doing. So all the young guys are trying to figure out what they need to be doing. So they kind of watch them, and then over time, I would assume you just kind of grow into what you need to do for years and years and years, and then eventually you have your own little routine and do that every day, and hopefully you play for 10, 15 years and have a great career. But yeah.
Coach Anderson, when Hayden transferred over here to Eastern, and can you take us through some of his process and how you seen progress to maybe a young kid from a junior college that really became a drafted and major league player a few years later?
Yeah, well, he's really a unique situation for me because I saw him way before junior college. I mean, when I came to Charleston, he was maybe 11, 12 years old. He was coming to camps. I was familiar with his family. And so his whole transformation of, a young player to where I don't think he stood out that much until he got to high school. And then I do not know what happened, but I went and watched him play one day, and I was blown away. And it was too late at that point. He was already going to Lakeland. And so we were really counting down to when we could get him. And when he came to us, I mean, he's the total package. He's got height, he's got strength, he's got athleticism, he's got work ethic, great person, everything that I look for in a player. And so we knew that was coming in. And then when he got to Eastern, we just tried to figure out the baseball part, just trying to figure out how to beat somebody. And there was a point in his second year with us that I think something really clicked, and he was just dominant. I mean, there was coaches in the league that, they were aware of him, and they were wanting to know when the draft came up, like, what's his chances? We don't want to see him again.
So when did you have a feeling that you were going to get drafted? I mean, was it your junior year, your senior year? What? When did
Honestly,
you think?
I didn't know if I was draft eligible at the time. I probably should have looked more into that. But, I was playing summer ball and sitting there, and I think I texted you and was like, "Am I draft eligible?" And then you were like, "Honestly, that's a great." I think you were like, "That's a great question," because I was 20, and like that number, you got to be 21 or 3 years in college or whatever that is. And I had my first year, which was at Lakeland, and it was cut short because it was COVID. So I was like, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the rules are behind that. It's kind of a weird situation.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. And then kind of came around, and they were like, yeah, you're draft eligible. And then people started coming to talk, and I was like, I could get drafted this year, and it just kind of worked out.
So go to the day you got drafted. That's got to be a surreal feeling, correct?
Yeah.
So, I know your parents were posting pictures, and it was kind of cool. But, what was going through your mind when you got the call from the Giants that day?
It was kind of, fifth round came around. I got drafted in the sixth round, and fifth round came around, and they called, offered me whatever they offered me, and I was like, I don't really. It wasn't worth it because it was under slot, whatever it was. It was too much, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So then I'm just kind of screwing myself out of money or whatever it was. And then after that, sixth round came around. They're like, hey, will you take this? And I was like, I don't know, it's hard not to take it once they came back to you. And it's like, you might as well. And I mean, like it was like let's go see what pro ball's all about. And it was kind of a quick split decision, and my agent was sitting there. He just called me and was like, hey, I think it's a good opportunity. I think you should do it. It's a great organization. Let's see what happens. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And then my name popped up on the screen, and it was just like, okay, let's get shipped out in 3 days.
So you're sitting here next to your former coach, and obviously there's a lot of advice that you take from people just to kind of help you navigate this. I mean, to me, it just seems like it'd be really overwhelming, of course. Like, what's the most valuable piece of advice that you've received from a teammate, or maybe like your coach, like the one sitting next to you right now?
The best thing that he taught me was I learned it by myself, but through him was he after my first start my junior year, he kind of was just like, hey, like, you're not going to start right now, like you're struggling, whatever. I was walking the house, and it was tough, and I was like, God. I was kind of in my head a little bit for like 2 weeks, and then we worked on some stuff, just like trying to get the fastball in zone, whatever, and then kind of clicked. And then I was mad, so it was more like all right, like I want to prove I can do this. To him, it was more like not in spite of him, but like at the same time, it was like I can do this, like to me. But he benched me, so it was like I gotta prove to myself that I can do this again. And so came 2 weeks later, and I came out of the bullpen in some game we were whooping somebody, and I was like, all right, this is my chance. I need to go show out, and I threw two innings, and after that I was kind of gradually got to start midweek, and then started throwing on the weekend, and then it was like once we got to like conference, I became somewhat our bullpen, like our guy out of the bullpen to come in if we got in a sticky situation, and it kind of, I don't know, my confidence kind of just kept growing as I threw well.
There's a great story there. I mean, you saw what you saw in him, but you needed to kind of maybe rattle the cage, and it worked. And so you got to give this guy a lot of thanks, right? I mean, when he said here, it was cool because when I knew you were going to come, I worked through your dad to get you here. I texted Coach Anderson immediately because I wanted you to have the opportunity to be here because I thought that was kind of cool because of the whole EIU thing is so neat, and the fact that you also played Major League Baseball, Coach Anderson, and you had 3 major leaguers in there this year. So it's really been a good story for EIU baseball the past few years. So where are we right now? Let's switch over to baseball just for a second with Coach Anderson. Where's the team right now? And as you look towards the spring, you're ready for the spring, I'm sure, right now.
Yeah, I mean we're in a great spot. At this point, I always just kind of ask myself, does it feel right? Does it look right? Does it feel right? And it feels as right as it ever has. I mean, we got leadership, we got older guys, we got young prospects. Last year we hit a little bit of a speed bump. We won 38 games and had to replace a lot of guys, 27 new faces last year, and I thought we were ready for it. And then Friday starter broke his leg in the 3rd week, and our closer had some issues with a sprained thumb, so he's trying to pitch with 4 fingers. And so we really went with getting some experience with guys, and I love what I'm seeing right now.
Cool.
Let's say, what aspects of your training and philosophy do you think were the most beneficial to helping these players kind of go up through the system a little bit?
I think my biggest strength is just I've been there. Like, I know what it's going to take, and so like I don't hold back on them at all. Like Hayden said, like I want him to be the very best that he can be. Not immediately. It's a process. It takes some time. It's one foot in front of the other, and just to see them take those steps and to buy into it and to get there. Like I never have told him like, hey, you got a chance to be a major leaguer or be drafted or anything like that. It's just be the best that you can be that day. And then obviously, we're playing a team sport, and I'm trying to win games. And so, trying to put him in positions as well to help us win games. And, his last year, he didn't start. But what he was he was in the role of what I call game winner. And so sometimes he would come in the 2nd inning and throw 7 innings. He would close down a game for 3 innings. That's, you need those guys in the pitching staff. And he kind of fell into that role, but, man, there was nothing he couldn't do. He could start, close, middle. He did it all that year.
So let's go to day one when you get your first Major League Baseball start. What is kind of the process of the morning, and then as you gear up to game time, what's going through Hayden Birdsong's head that day?
That morning, it was just I don't know exactly when I woke up. I just woke up and was like, all right, it's game day. Let's go pitch. That was all it was, and it was. I had to do a video before. I'm sure some people have seen it on YouTube.
That's the one you're walking around?
Yeah, that was just, they said, hey, we'll meet you at whatever time in the morning, and we'll walk over to the field. And I was like, all right, sounds good. That was it. And then it was just conversation from there to the field. And then after that, it was hang out in the locker room, and people were talking to me and just like they were excited to see me pitch or whatever, because most of those guys haven't. Like, none of them. I shot up pretty quick, so it was kind of, they've heard of me, but had not really seen me actually pitch. I went to big league spring training, but I threw maybe 4 innings in game in spring training. So I mean, haven't seen much. So they wanted to see me in real action and see what I could do. But I was excited.
Now, when that game's over, does the pitching coach and the head coach talk to you and kind of review, or how's that work?
Yeah, it's usually pretty simple. It's usually as soon as I'm done and I'm sitting in the dugout and just kind of sorry. But I'm sitting there and they just kind of talk to me just kind of they don't know what's going to happen, as in if I get sent down or stay up or whatever. So I was just there, and they just kind of talked to me about what we're going to do moving forwards, if I'm up here, if I'm not, whatever. And then they were excited that I actually wasn't just like walking the house or whatever. I was competing and not just kind of rolling over when things got tough. But then the next start came around, and I got a win, and that's kind of.
Now, who'd you beat that day?
It's the Atlanta Braves.
There you go. We got to get
Your Atlanta Braves.
Your Atlanta Braves.
Barely made the playoffs by one game, and it would have been Hayden Birdsong out if. But it's okay.
Hey, they're doing better than my Cardinals, and honestly, I will say I did see it was a highlight video. You had 11 strikeouts against the Cardinals your last start. Yeah, that's very impressive. I will say. I mean, that's obviously, but you have moments, of course, when your mechanics maybe get out of sync, like you said, with your pitching coach, where you have to kind of retouch on some things. Do you go back to the basics, or is it more like riding a bike now, where you don't really have to think much about it? Or
I wouldn't say it's like riding a bike, but you have to go back to what you know. You can't you can't be like, okay, now I need to learn something else because this isn't working. No, it's usually you're thinking about something else that you don't need to be thinking about. You need to take a step back and look at what you were doing before, and then you go, okay, that's what I need to be doing, and then you just reset. And it's
kind of like going back to the basics, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that people have picked up on is that you talk to yourself on the mound, and so we're going to ask when you're talking to Hayden Birdsong on the mound by yourself, and the announcers talked about it, and people around here did. What are you saying? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to calm yourself or what?
Not normally. It's.
I know
a lot of it's some words I probably can't say.
Yeah, please don't.
It's more just, I don't know, just trying to tell myself like you can, in a way you can do this, kind of hyping myself up a little bit, and also just like talking to myself about what I want to do, not necessarily out loud, but just mouthing it, just so I know that's what I want to do. That's what I need to do. But
did you pick up on the fact that people were picking up on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it was kind of fun. I mean, mostly when we're lucky enough to the people that knew you, we're just trying to think what Hayden's saying. What about you, Coach Anderson? Did you have any of those idiosyncrasies on the mound when you pitched, or?
Oh man, I had all kind of superstitions, but I was very different than him, to where he's much more even keeled than I ever was. People forget he was in the big leagues at 22 years old, and so that is tough in itself to go play with 35-year-old guys and these veterans and things like that. I made it at 23, and I thought I was young, but he thinks it through a lot more, where I was more pure emotion. I would yell, scream, pitch with anger, and I think that's really helped him out.
Now, Hayden, the other thing that happened this year, you were up and down a little bit. So in terms of, get called up, and they need a starter came back from injury or whatever. So how was the process of being a major leaguer one day, going to minors, back to the majors, back and forth?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. The travel wasn't great, just from going, getting sent back down to the West Coast, and then sitting there for a week. They wouldn't something happened to where it was you're probably going to throw next week, so we don't want you to throw again, and we want you to get a little rest or whatever. And I was like, all right, that's fine. And then I'm pitching, and it's hey, you're pitching on Tuesday or whatever it was, but it's on the other side of the country. So it was a quick, okay, I'm going to fly in, I'm going to pitch the next day. And it was kind of, it's how it goes, just how it works. And I obviously learning to deal with that kind of stuff, the time zones and all that. So just kind of, it's a learning curve.
So how's your road diet look like? Do you have dietitians for each player, or is it kind of do you get agency in that when you're on the road?
It's most we have our dietitian or nutritionist, and then they get food, or normally most places we have chefs or somebody at the place. It's not through us, with their team, or if we're at home then we have a chef, but there they usually have people making food for us every day. It's just different, different stuff every day.
Did you have a good feel when you were out there that how many people back home in the EIU Mattoon community were figuring out ways to find Giants on TV and to watch you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was crazy. My dad was texting me every 2 days about, hey, is this person going to try to come out to see you? And I was like, that's awesome. Let them come. I'll I'll try to say hi. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it was great. The support was unbelievable.
And really, people did. They traveled to San Francisco, to Cleveland, to St. to wherever else you played. So it was kind of cool. Did you get to see him, Jason, or not? I didn't know how your schedule worked.
I did not, with my kids and recruiting and everything going on, but I didn't miss a game. I got the MLB package, and so I was either watching it that night or the next morning in the office. But I'll definitely be there next year. But it was a fun ride, I think, for everybody around here.
As you look past this past year, which is crazy, when you think about the stuff that you being called up to the major leagues, your sister got married. Has there been a tough part, or has it been just kind of just like a surreal ride for the Hayden Birdsong?
It's kind of just been fun. There hasn't been any. Obviously, there's ups and downs, but I mean, what can I complain about? Living the dream. I can't. I mean, I'm just I get to be home right now, see my family, see my friends, see people like you guys I don't get to see you guys once to 3 to 4 times a year, and it's good to be able to come home and just see people that are to me normal and people I grew up with. Like.
Now, what about your off-season workouts right now? What are you doing, and as you ramp up to spring of 25?
Right now, I'm just lifting and playing catch. Not super high volume with the throwing, but lifting, getting into that, and we'll have another 2-3 months of lifting and throwing to get ready for spring training, but it's about all I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Say, when you're in the games, how do you approach studying hitters and like preparing for everything like that? Do you leave it up to the catcher? Does the manager do most of the analysis? Like, do you study the hitters before the games, or do you just kind of go with it?
It's kind of, to me, it's different between pitcher to pitcher. Some people really look at it a lot, look at where their holes are, what they swing at in certain counts, whatever that is. And I personally, I'd rather look at, here's 2 or 3, maybe 4 hitters that are like they're guys that really hit well off righties with certain attributes or certain like spin rates or whatever it is. And then see what they do well and see what they do bad, and then the rest of it, the rest of the players on that team usually I just try to learn from that first at bat and see what I can do differently every at bat.
Now, do you know your plans for 2025 yet in terms of where you're going to go for spring training, or how's that all worked out? Or
I don't know right now. I mean, I would assume I'm going to big league spring training in Arizona, Scottsdale, but right now I'm just we're just waiting, waiting around, listening.
All right. Coach Anderson, take us back to, when you knew Hayden was going to start that first day. What do you feel like as his former college coach when you know your guy's making his major league debut?
I just wanted to do well. Obviously you have the initial, rush of, all right, he made it. At least he can say he can make it. And then you have to go out there and you got to get the first out and say, all right, I recorded an out, because it took me a week to get my first out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my first appearance, I didn't get an out. And so you want that for him, and then, you just wanted him to keep going. And that was the most impressive thing I saw throughout the year, is that he just kept going. He obviously started off really well, hit a little lull, and then at the end, he's in the last outing with the strikeouts. I think he's in a group with like Louis Tiant and Marichal and Linscomb and those guys. And so it was incredible just to see it, each time out, just to grow and to do it at such a young age. I just think he's got, so much he can accomplish in his future.
So I would want to ask this: do you still have time for your hobbies and stuff like that, or are you really like kind of held down by the team a lot? I wouldn't want to say held down, I guess, but
mid-season is tough because those off days, like you get maybe an off day a week, maybe just depends on the week, obviously, and then it might be your travel day, so you're not really wanting to do much. But most of the time, I don't really want to like go golf or do whatever.
Right.
Sometimes it's like, yeah, I want to go get away, go do something, get away from baseball, whatever it is. But most of the time, I'd rather just hang out and maybe play some video games or
yeah.
I don't know.
So you're still a typical college kid.
Exactly. I just don't. I'm kind of up in the air on what I want to do on those off days. But I mean, right now, obviously, I can do whatever I really want to do throughout the day.
One of the coolest things I saw last year, I don't even know if you know this story, but I was watching my sons play church league softball, and 3 little kids come by in Birdsong jerseys. I text your dad. I tried to get a picture of it from my car where I was sitting, but when you hear stories like that you're already affecting the way little kids in Coles County are doing things. It's got to feel good, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's no words to really put in that situation. I can't. I personally, I haven't seen it, but I haven't been out and watched a game. Obviously, it might
Yeah,
be,
I
mean,
you're kind of busy.
It is kind of cold too, so there's not much baseball going on right now. So I don't know. It's really cool.
So can I ask both of you, actually, since you both played in the major leagues and obviously have a lot of influence with baseball, what advice would you give to young players that are going up through the system that want to do exactly what you both did?
You read my mind. Okay, that was my question.
I'll let you go first.
All right. To me, I have fun. It's baseball.
Mhm.
You can't don't overthink it. You can't. You're having fun. It's the same game since you were however old whenever you started playing, and you can't look at it any differently. And if you do, then you start thinking too much, and that's when it kind of goes downhill. But just have fun.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to say is, enjoy it. As a young kid and, a parent of a young kid, sometimes the expectations are really high, especially in the travel ball realm with the money spent and everything. But you got to enjoy it. It's got to be fun to continue to want to do it and, enjoy the failure, enjoy the challenge of it. And if it gets too easy, find hard. Find hard, get used to uncomfortable, challenge those kids, but it's got to be something they enjoy. The challenge has to be a fun part of it. And that's what I've seen with his career is he was never afraid of a challenge. I challenged him all the time when he was at EIU, and like I said, he'd find a way to, I'll show you. And I love guys like that.
There you go. We got about a minute left. We're talking to Hayden Birdsong and Jason Anderson today, all EIU baseball basically related. The thing that I also want to talk about is you grew up a Cubs fan, and when you had to face the Cubs, again, I keep asking you what's going through your mind, but you're facing your boys there. I mean, what's Hayden Birdsong thinking that day?
It was, it was still baseball. I'm showing up to the field, and it's obviously it was my debut, so there was more than just playing against the Cubs, but that was my first Major League Baseball game, and it was against the Cubbies, and I was like, this is really cool. I can't really write it up any better, but I had to go out and compete and go try to win a game for our team. There was no thought on, it's the Cubs, do I want them to win? You can't think like that, first of all. Second of all, my team's the Giants, so it's like.
So you're 100% Giants fan now, right?
Yeah, I am.
There you go.
I am.
Cool. All right, last question. Do you miss hitting?
Absolutely.
I figured you're
Have you met Ohtani before?
Yes, I've met Ohtani.
Sweet.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it was great seeing you. We're so proud of you. Everybody in Mattoon, Charleston, the IU community is rooting for you. Keep it up. Coach Anderson, thanks for showing up too as well. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having us.